So then you started life in Sweden, and your father was in prison in Eritrea. And as a child growing up, how did you? I mean, this must have added some. You must have realized that this was not normal.
Yeah.
In terms of other children or other young people your age, and how did this influence your relationship with your mother, with your father? Were you angry? Were you upset? Were you?
Of course, I was angry because my father was actually a good father, and sometimes I felt very sad sometimes when my friends had their fathers, and some of them may had a bad father, and somehow I could wish they could meet my father because he was wonderful in that sense, because he was encouraging us to be who we are, and that was always his thing, be who you are, be kind, and observe your society and where you live, and instead of because in the early stages I had some problems in school with making friends, and he was always telling me it's not your fault, and
he talked to you about this.
Yeah, and he actually asked me oh, what do you think the problem is? Do you think we can solve this together? And he would talk to the teachers, and somehow by his encouragement I actually got friends, and I don't know how I did it, but I tried to meet other children and try to approach them, and that's still with me, that I should engage with different kinds of people all the time.
That's what you said yesterday. It struck me that the one thing that really, I think that resonated very much with you, that he said to engage.
Yeah.
And engage also with people who do not think like you.
Yeah.
Anybody. So he was entirely free of prejudice. And
yeah.
Was this sort of the thing that, your grandparents, they were free thinking, they were liberal, they were all...
Yeah,
they had a fairly liberal
absolutely.
mindset.
Absolutely. My grandma always told them that don't fight about religion or politics. You can talk about it, but you don't need to fight. But I think what I brought to this was, for example, when I went to last year of high school, I actually interviewed a person who is in the Swedish Parliament, the party is in the Swedish Parliament, and it's kind of a racist party, but they're still in the Parliament. So I called them and I interviewed them, and actually one of my friends were like, why are you doing this? They hate you. And I was like, yeah, so what? I will do that anyway. And actually my mom encouraged me. She was like, maybe it's not that bad. You have to see what he says. So you have to get his views as well. So, and that is also from my father. He would have encouraged me. So this thing that you have to talk to everyone is I think it's good.
Well, that's really then the legacy also, that this is very, very much what you feel is that he had this open mind, that he was trying to, as you say, engage. Yeah. That you engage also people who do not share your views. Mm-hmm. But you went further yesterday, I think, even that you said you do not hate anybody.
No.
And I found that very interesting. So when you're growing up, this is now, you have a more mature view and also more, you have some perspective as you grow up. But as a child, were you were not angry at your father, not angry at your mother?
Of course, I was angry, but as I grew older, I was asking myself, would I have done the same thing? Maybe, maybe not. Because when you feel strongly about something, then I can understand that, why you would take that decision to actually go to Eritrea. But at the same time, he actually didn't know. We didn't know anything. We just knew it was tense.
When your father lived in Sweden, what motivated him to go back to Eritrea?
Well, Sweden, until now, I would say, is not an inclusive society. Actually, it's kind of, there are structural and systematic racism, even though they will admit it or not. It's there.
So he felt like he
didn't belong here.
It didn't.
Yeah, and I understand actually, and he didn't want us to be his children to feel the same way. That's why we stayed in Eritrea as well too.
So this is so he returned because he felt that this was his home, that he was, and also because he felt that this country was not as welcoming or as inclusive as it should be, and didn't want you to grow up this way. But did he also feel that he wanted to contribute to the development of Eritrea?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a huge part of it, of course. And he also told us, like, you are the future, the generation that will keep on the Eritrean legacy. So he also wants us to be there. And
so this was also this inner motivation and this drive, I think,
exactly,
beyond him. And so when he then became a journalist, he was always a writer, so he was a playwright, but then he decided to buy a newspaper, or to become partner in a newspaper,
yeah,
co-owner of a newspaper. And what was the outlook of this newspaper? Was this progressive? Was it?
Well, I've heard that he was engaged in taking the hardest decisions. Are we going to publish this? Because I think they wrote about a water problem in a village, and it was a very sensitive, what do you call it? Subject, yeah. They published it, and after that, I think they got a lot of letters where they were saying, like, thank you, but at the same time, I think they also got everything else that wasn't good.
So this was sensitive because it would show that there were certain problems in Eritrea.
Exactly.
This was in some way,
and they were
criticism of
exactly, and also because they were also telling personal stories of people, and maybe that was some kind of new journalism in Eritrea.
So he was really, I mean, he really felt that he had an important role to play in terms of, taking part in the building of Eritrea, and building a new society in Eritrea.
Exactly, building on new institutions and society and schools, hospitals, everything. And being a journalist is a part of it, I think.
And did he know the current president personally? Was he, or because my understanding is that that the two of knew each other, that that he had been part of sort of the same struggle, or is this a different generation? I think it's
the president is
a little older, right?
Older.
Yeah, but did they? I think they did meet, because I think that they are.
Yeah, they have met.